Today we've got something special. Let's jump in. Welcome back to another video. My name is Ian Major. I'm an entrepreneur at Bitcoin Pleb, an all-around raging capitalist. And yes, you may have noticed the slick new video intro, but that is not the exciting thing that we are celebrating today. Rather, we are celebrating the fact that over 1,000 of you have, for some reason, decided to subscribe to this channel. And for that, I am eternally grateful and pumped up. For those of you who have been, around on the channel, I mean, it seems like just yesterday we were doing the 500 sub video, but you know that the whole reason I, set up this channel was really to help answer questions that, I was getting from friends who knew that I was deep in the bowels of the Bitcoin rabbit hole. And so, hey, like, what is this Bitcoin thing? How does it work? Where should I buy it? How should I buy it? How should I store it? How should I secure it? All these types of questions I was kind of anyways answering, and thought, why not throw up some videos to address these questions? And if they end up helping others, then that would be fantastic. And so, 1,000 isn't that much in the grand scheme of things, but best believe it is, at least to me, relative to that original expectation. And so for each of you that have come along for the journey, I thank you. I hope you have gotten as much out of this and more than I have. And for those who might be brand new to this channel, if this is the very first time you are seeing this channel, welcome. I cover all manner of Bitcoin-related content, including wallet tutorials, kind of news and analysis. I do like a monthly digest where I go through all the big things that, have happened and are happening in the world of Bitcoin. I've done videos on running your own node, DeFi on Bitcoin, the Lightning Network. So I cover all these kind of topics. And so if that sounds appealing, I invite you to join your fellow brethren and your fellow sovereign individuals who have come along for the ride. And so once again, my sincere, heartfelt gratitude for all of this. It has been a blast. I've really enjoyed doing this. And so I now want to talk about what's next. What am I thinking about next on the channel and beyond? So in terms of the channel, I'm going to continue to focus, just as I have been, on some of those key topics we just discussed. Lightning Network will continue to be a big focus. DeFi on Bitcoin will continue to be a big focus, as well as, the classic kind of wallet tutorials, monthly digest, where I tend to go into kind of news and analysis. So all of that, steady as she goes. Beyond that, though, I think I want to start doing some additional or kind of sprinkle videos from time to time on broader sovereignty-related topics. As an example of that, it could be how to de-Google your Pixel phone, right? To have this much more kind of privacy-centric mobile device that you could run different Bitcoin wallets or what have you. And so that would be an example of like a tangential topic that I think is going to be really important as we go forward. I think we are in strange times, right? Because you have this inexorable game theoretic loop of Bitcoin that is clearly taking hold. I mean, you have how many mayors in the US now that have said, I'm going to take my paycheck in Bitcoin. Well, I'm going to take 3 paychecks in Bitcoin, right? Like, this is just going to escalate. And so on the one hand, you may think, wow, like, is it finally starting to happen? Are we seeing the tip of the iceberg to hyper-Bitcoinization? I think we are. But the opposite and more nefarious side of that coin is that as that happens, you will inevitably see the tentacles of surveillance and control from regulators and from governments around the world. And so what I mean by this is that understanding that Bitcoin is sovereign money for a sovereign individual, is no longer going to be sufficient. You really will need to have all the supporting toolkit to enable you to engage with Bitcoin, use it, save it, borrow against it, etc., in a kind of permissionless and trustless fashion, and in a way in which you aren't opening yourself up to undue surveillance. And this could include other topics. I had the benefit of connecting with one of my subscribers who lives in Brazil, and I think has like a really interesting take on other sovereignty topics around like, food security and different things like that. Now, I don't want to stray like too far from the kernel of all things Bitcoin on this channel, but I do think strongly that a more well-rounded toolkit is going to be required for sovereign individuals to thrive in the decades to come. And so again, these are just thoughts. I want to ultimately deliver on what the market demands. And so let me know if that sounds interesting, helpful, useful, or if you have completely other thoughts that you'd like to see in covered on the channel going forward. As part of that, I may also kind of experiment with like the format of this channel. Some of you may get tired of just hearing me speak to the camera in these videos, and so I might do like recorded sessions with others who may have like a really unique perspective on one of those broader sovereignty related themes. But again, just a thought there. Now, the final piece for the channel, at least, that I want to announce is that I'm introducing, I guess we might call it a pilot initiative for getting to kind of know some of you a bit better, and also offering a little bit more intensive help for those that need it in their Bitcoin setup. And so what I'm proposing is once a month, I'll randomly pick a subscriber who, comments and voices an interest in doing this. I will randomly pick one of you and we'll just have a chat. We'll set up whatever you're comfortable with, Zoom call, doesn't matter. And it could be, the agenda could be whatever. It could be, hey, Ian, I love your videos, but I've really been wrestling with like this one aspect of the setup. Can you help me kind of walk through it together? Or, hey, Ian, like, here's my overall sovereignty setup. Like, what are your thoughts? How can I improve it even further? Or it could be none of that. It could just be, shooting the shit as like-minded individuals. But let me know what you think. I think this would be kind of a cool way to get to know some of you, and also maybe on a more practical note, offer a little more help for those of you that need it. I definitely am aware that a lot of the tutorials I do build on kind of prior knowledge, and so while I also cover that prior knowledge in a lot of the videos on my channel, I recognize that not everyone learns in the same way. And so if this would be useful or helpful, I would encourage you to comment down below and say, I would love the chance to connect, say something like that. And I will randomly pick one of you from the comments down below. We'll set something up, see how it goes. And then my plan would be each month, when I do the monthly digest video, which, as you know, I put out at the beginning of each month, I will remind folks of this, and I'll encourage you to leave a comment in those videos. And again, I'll randomly pick one individual and so on and so forth. And so who knows, like, let's see how this goes. I think it could be fun. I think it could benefit some of you. But we'll kind of play it loose and fast and see how this goes. See if it's actually useful for folks. But I wanted to think of just additional ways that I can, continue creating value beyond the videos. And no, this is like, there's not an $850 course fee for this. So this is just free and open source, if you will. Now, the very last thing I want to cover, some of you have directly asked, like, how can you either, support or get involved in some of the other stuff that I'm working on? And so I wanted to just quickly make a mention of that. So my business partner and I have officially launched a new project within the Stacks ecosystem. If you are completely unfamiliar with Stacks, I've done a number of videos on that. And this has been I would say, contentious topic within the Bitcoin community. There's been an ongoing kind of debate between particularly Stacks, the Stacks community, as well as the Liquid community, so Liquid being a side chain. And these are all different ways of bringing more utility in the form of DeFi, smart contracts, etc., to Bitcoin, right? Like, that's the mission. And so there's healthy debate on both sides. Stacks has a standalone gas token that is paid for the computation that has to be performed to execute smart contracts. And so a lot of folks point to that standalone token and ask, well, why is that? Why do you need that? But then, on the sidechain side with Liquid and others, you typically have a more centralized federated setup that manages the peg in and peg out process of those derivative assets, whether it's, LBTC, RBTC, etc. My view is that all of these projects are good for Bitcoin. And so if you want to know my thoughts, my 2 cents on this, I think it's probably best captured in the following tweet. Bitcoin, in my opinion, is the most important discovery in human history. Full stop, right? Anything that distracts from that should rightly be criticized. Stacks is not a distraction and is advancing Bitcoin-centric experimentation that will contribute to hyper-Bitcoinization. And this is in response to a tweet thread from Bitcoin Mormon, which I will also link. You should check it out. I think it's a super well-written thread from a really hardcore Bitcoiner. And so those are my thoughts, right? I don't feel the need to justify them to anyone, but I think it's useful and helpful to just articulate like the why, like what I see, the Stacks ecosystem contributing specifically to Bitcoin. And so within the Stacks ecosystem, we have launched a company called TrueBit, which is the first data marketplace built on Bitcoin. What does that mean? Well, as we all know, unfortunately, your data is being monetized as we speak in a way that infringes on your privacy as an individual, and in a way in which you are compensated zero for the value that your data is creating. And it's just pretty wild, right? You have these kind of shadowy data brokers, right? You talk about shadowy supercoders. The real shadowy individuals are these data brokers that make $250 billion annually off of your data. And data's not even that accurate, right? They're reselling inaccurate data about you without your permission, making $250 billion a year. And so it's just, laughably ripe for disruption. And so when we think about your personal data as an extension of yourself in cyberspace, this current paradigm that we operate in, where all these kind of centralized platforms ultimately work off the back of your personal data, where, ads are just, being slotted in wherever your attention goes, like that paradigm is fundamentally incompatible with individual sovereignty, especially as we go deeper into this kind of, metaverse or digital world, whatever we want to call it, right? Our vision at TrueBit is pretty lofty. It is to empower individuals with a whole suite of data sovereignty tools. Now, we have to start somewhere, and so where we're starting is the ability for you to monetize your data and earn Bitcoin for it. So in a similar way as to how Fold has enabled individuals to stack sats by doing something they anyways are already doing, i.e. making transactions day to day, we're hoping to do the same thing by enabling folks a novel way to stack sats with an asset that people anyways already have, which is their data. And how do we do that in a, of course, privacy, minded way? That's all I'm going to say on that for now. Again, purpose of this video is not to shill this other project by any means, but a lot of you have expressly asked about this. And so if you're interested in checking out this more, I would encourage you to go over to our Twitter. I will link that in the description down below, and you will see this kind of pinned tweet that we just put out on November 5th, V for Vendetta style. And it kind of goes through a summary of like the problem, solution, what we're building, how it'll work. And so I encourage you to check that out. And if you are so keen to kind of stay up to date on everything and our launch plans and all that good stuff, feel free to head over to the TrueBit homepage, which is at truebit.tech. You can sign up as an early access member, and trust me, there's going to be some pretty slick stuff that will be coming to the first couple thousand who sign up here. But again, this is an area I'm really, really passionate about and that I'm going to be spending a ton of time in. And so if you're interested in any degree, shape, or form, reach out, send me a DM on Twitter. Or again, go and follow TrueBit. Sign up for early access if you're so inclined. But with all that, we'll go ahead and leave this video here. Again, my friends, the purpose of this video was really to thank you all for the awesome kind of community that's forming around this channel. and also hopefully get your input and steer on some of these areas that I've proposed, adding to the channel as we go forward in terms of other sovereignty related topics, all ultimately tying closely to Bitcoin. And then for those of you who do want to support some of the other work I'm involved in, go check out TrueBit. And let me know your thoughts as well. What do you think? But there you have it, friends. As we speak on November 8th here, Bitcoin is pumping, and watching the fiat exchange rate pump is always nice. But, there's a much, much broader movement happening here. And so I couldn't be more thrilled to be playing but a small role in making that happen. And none of it would be possible without you guys as well. And so with that, we'll go ahead and leave this video here. Let me know your thoughts. Drop a like on this video if you are similarly pumped and jazzed at the prospect for hyper-Bitcoinization, but also recognize that this will be a war, and the war will be fought over many battles, and it is that reality that we have to acknowledge and prepare for. But until next time, my friends, as always, every sat counts, and until next time, I'll see you then.